What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Kimmy D TV, tips and tricks living your best life. In this video, I'm going to be talking about a highly requested video is how it's like working in a jail or correctional facility. So if you guys want to know how it's like to work in a jail, sit back, grab a snack, and enjoy the show. Okay, let's go. Alright guys, so I'm not gonna lie, when I first decided that I wanted to work in correctionals, that time I was still doing my travel nursing assignment in El Paso, Texas, and I was applying to different agencies within the Houston area, and one of the agencies I applied to, I did not even know they specifically specialized in sending nurses, LPN specifically, to correctional facilities, and I had no idea because the guy was like, listen, you should sign up for this agency because they pay some nurses $30 an hour. And then I was like, okay, but he didn't really specify it was going to be correctionals. So I come to Houston, and it takes a long time for the process to go on. I'm like, what's taking so long? And they're like, well, you have to go through a process. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, because one of it is a jail and one of it is a prison. And I was like, what? A jail, a prison? So, but long story short, I finally got approved for the jail. And at that time, if you guys were watching my vlogs, I was working at another long-term care facility, and I really, really hated it. And it's like a SNF, a skilled nursing facility. I really, really hated it. So when that opportunity came along, they said, well, we have orientation. Honestly, I just went there because I was like, look, I want extra money, and maybe it will be a supplement money on the side, right? So I wasn't planning on leaving the SNF just yet. So I went there, and when I went there, it was really intimidating because when I drived up, because I worked 6 to 2, and that's the shift I work now, I drove up and I saw all these police cars, and I saw, the gates and the bars, and it looked, honestly guys, it looked really intimidating. I was like, oh hell no. And then when I came in for orientation, the nurse who was orienting me, she was alright, but at the same time I feel like she painted a picture in which I would be afraid, because she was like, well, yeah, we do our own IVs here, we draw our own blood here, we start the IVs, even LPNs. And she was like, other people were like, oh, you gotta be careful, this and that. And also when I was in orientation, there were inmates yelling, I'll dream about you. Maybe they sensed that I was afraid a little bit. Even though I like to think that I have a great poker face, but yeah. And then people were like, well, if you're scared of the inmates, you can't work here, blah blah blah. So I was thinking after all that, I was like, oh hell no, hell to the no. And then I saw how they administered medications, like the blood pressure medications were stock medications. And if you guys watch my nursing medication card etiquette for nurses video, you'll know that I already know, like, stock medications are like Benadryl or Tylenol or ibuprofen, but this is the first time I saw it. Like, everything was mixed up in all the cards. I was like, oh hell to the no, I don't know why anyone wouldn't work here. And then on top of that, I bought the wrong bag because nobody told me I had to bring a clear bag, and I had to go through a whole process. Oh, it was horrible the first day. So I was like, the first day I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna make my orientation money and skedaddle my way back to my nursing home, back to my skilled nursing facility, and that's it. But guys, I want to give you guys an advice, especially for LPNs who have been working in nursing homes for a long time, or home health, or whatever you're used to working in. Don't let familiarity or being comfortable stop you from trying something new, because I was able to keep going to the orientations, I found out that I liked it. So I continued to go to the orientations, And through the orientations, I figured out, oh my God, I love it. And at the same time, the SNF, working at the SNF was becoming worse and worse. I hated it more and more. You know, it just became horrible and a very toxic place to work at. If you guys watch my vlogs, you will understand why. I'm not going to explain it here. You have to watch it. But it became very toxic, and the correctional facility became a lot more, you know, a lot more light bearing. It became a beacon of light, and I was like, oh my God, I love the correctional facility. And I don't just like it just because it's better than a nursing home, which I believe it is, but I like it for several reasons. So basically, all in all, I absolutely love working in the jail. Of course, you still have, you know, people like other nurses that you may not get along with, or you still may have nurses that you may not get along with, other people. There's other personalities. But honestly, guys, you're always going to find that everywhere. In every profession, but especially in nursing, you're always going to find that. But I'm going to explain to you why I like the correctional facility. Well, first of all, you know, the people working there, I have no idea why, but they're very supportive. And I'm just saying that because, I mean, I'm still cautious and I still keep to myself because I know people can change, especially nurses, but they're all going back to school and I see them all support each other, and it's such a beautiful thing to see nurses support each other of all different age groups. But they're so supportive of each other, and they all get along. Of course, there's little dramas here and there that I see, but it's not the same as working in a nursing home. I don't know why, but it wasn't the same. It's not the same at all, and it's like they're cordial with each other to the way they work. Like I said, I'm not saying there's no drama, there's nothing, but honestly, if I see somebody give me attitude, like, I just brush it off because I know what I came here to do. I came here to do my 8 hours and leave and clock in, clock out. But it's not to a point where, oh my God, I cannot work here, and they actually treat you like human beings. So that's what I love about it most. Like, we had a Christmas party, it was so beautiful. I brought a dish, other people brought dishes, and you know, you just learn to, you know, roll with the punches. But yeah, I'm gonna explain to you like what a typical day is working like working at a jail. So I don't work at a prison, I work at a jail. I wanted to work at a prison because the prison pays more. Prison pays like $30 an hour. I do work through an agency. I'm not too sure exactly how much they make because I heard different stories. Like, this one nurse told me they start at $22 an hour. Mind you, I'm in Texas. Like, if you work specifically for the jail, some people say they start at 22, some people say 25. So I'm not too sure. I don't know who's lying and who's telling the truth, but I know for the agency, they pay 27, which is pretty good because in Texas, like, I worked in a facility nursing home where they said the starting pay was 22, and I applied there, and I'm so happy they didn't call me. But yeah, but that is how it is, and that is the pay. So the pay honestly is pretty good. My shift is 6 to 2, but because my agency takes like 30-minute break, I have to come at like 5:45, so I have to clock in at 5:45, and then I have to leave at 2:15. So basically, if I look down, I'm looking down at my notes because I did make some notes. So when I first come in, I have to pay for parking. Parking is $5, but I think it's worth it because, like I said, I like the job. And you pay your $5. You could pay via card or via cash, and you get a receipt, and you put your receipt on your dashboard on your car. So that is what I do. Or some people park somewhere far and then they take the bus, which I'm not about to do. But that is one option in order to pay for parking. And then when I first come up to the jail, because I am agency and I'm not working directly for the jail, I have to give my employee ID. I have to give my driver's license and my agency ID to the officer in the front, and they give me a green employee ID. And this green employee ID is really important. If it gets lost, they have to close down the whole jail and like do a thorough search, because inmates can make plans to leave and stuff like that. Anybody can steal it, and that's very important. So I like to keep my green employee ID in my wallet. Okay, so inside the jail, and I'm gonna give you guys a warning. It's only been like a month, and not really a full month, because I worked here and there since I worked in the jail. So I'm giving you a perspective on someone who is very new to the whole thing. So I'm not an experienced nurse working in corrections, but inside the whole jail we have like different units. So far I know of the clinic, and the clinic is basically where people come in when they're first being admitted, and we have GP, which is general population, and then we have the infirmary, which is where I work at. Okay, so I work at the infirmary, and so when I first come in, I look at my assignment. So there's an assignment sheet inside the nurse's station. Oh yeah, and when I first come in, I have to go through metal detectors, and we're not allowed to bring our phones, so I leave my phone in my car. If you bring your phone, you will be escorted out and you will lose your job. So I leave my phone in my car. I'm not taking any risks. And of course, if you guys watch my what's in my nurse bag video, I have to bring a clear or mesh bag. So I bring a clear bag, and when I first come in, I have to take out all washes and everything, and I always have like a big hefty sweater on, because they always make it cold in there. Why? I have no idea why they make it cold in there, but it's always cold in there. So when I first come in, I go inside the nurse's station and I look at my assignment. And yes, when we first come in, we go through halls, and we are like in person, like we're in face-to-face distance within with the inmates. Of course, like there's always guards, but it's not like, oh, they're like you're secluded and like 100% totally. Like you do see the inmates face to face, but it's not as scary as it may seem. But when we first come in, we go inside the nurse's station, we look at our assignments, and then basically the nurses have different sides or assignments that they could work on. So you could either work in TB, chronic care, admissions. RNs usually do the admissions, medications, total care, and charge nurse. And the weekends is different. The nurse who does total care does TB patients as well. And I'll get into that later. You'll understand that. So basically, with the medications, I only got 1 day training on the medication. So far, I could only speak about total care, because that's the place where I've been working. I haven't been working with medications or anything. So no, I have not been giving meds, but once in a while, and you'll understand why. So with total care, basically, you do the patient's vital signs in the morning. So when I first come in, I already know I'm in total care, and I check to see my assignment, and they say, okay, Kimberly, you're responsible for taking the vital signs in MD4 and 200 hall and 300 hall, whatever. So basically and then I would print out something called an infirmary census on the computer. And I'm also responsible for the treatment. So I would print out the infirmary treatments. I'm also responsible for the IV medications. And I'm responsible for the treatments during the MD rounds, which I will get to later. So that is basically what I'm responsible for total care. So what I would do when I first come in is I would print out the census, and I would highlight. That's why I have my bunch of highlighters who I need vital signs on. And there's a separate sheet that I can match against to show me who's on TB. So patients who are on TB, I don't have to do their vital signs, because the TB nurse will do their vital signs, except on weekends, because on weekends there's no TB nurse. So the total care nurse has to do everything, which is fine, because usually you have more help. But if you don't, it's fine. You just get what you have to get going. So when you do your vital signs, there's usually a MA or medical assistant that helps you. There is no such thing as a nursing assistant where I work. I don't know about other places, but there are no nursing assistants. So the medical assistants, you would delegate stuff to the medical assistants, but it's not like a nursing home area anyway. Like for example, like it's not like a nursing home aura. Like, I feel like the medical assistants do really want to help. They're very helpful. And also for patients who are paralyzed or, you know, who can't move, we have to clean them. Because there's no nursing assistants, and the medical assistants do help with that as well. Like, they help changing. The only thing I would say is, like, the beds don't move up or down. I have no idea why, but we are responsible for changing the patients, and it's really not that bad because we have medical assistants to help us. So yes, it's been the first time since I've changed a patient since I was in nursing school, because, you know, back when I was nursing in New York, nurses just didn't do that. But it's really not that bad, honestly, because I mean, it's not, because you have help, and it's not like you're completely, totally alone. The medical assistants, I love them because they're so helpful. And it's not like you have to go after them or you're not fighting. You know, sometimes when you work in nursing homes, some nursing assistants, you have to fight to get help. But in the jail, it's not like that. Like, they actually work as a team. They want to finish. And, you know, you have more people on you, like, did you do this, did you do that? Not just me, but other people who are working. So basically in the morning, so the medical assistant would help me take the vital signs, and the vital sign machine is actually connected to the computer. So basically I would take the vital signs, and you always ask, when was your last bowel movement, do you have any cuts or wounds, and you would document that on the computer. And if it's a female, you're going to ask, when was your last menstrual period. So that's what you would do. And then after that, you finish take the vital signs, and the guards will help you take the vital signs, because let's say you're on 200 hall, and the 200 hall has separate cells or tanks, however you want to call it. They have separate cells, and the guard will take the key and open each cell so that you can take their vital signs. So after you've taken your vital signs, the vital signs are very important because because every single day the doctor has a list of patients that they're going to see for that day, and especially if their patient is due to be seen today, their vital signs are very important. And in general, the vital signs are important. If we have a patient that has a high vital sign, like let's say 165/78, what you will do is you will mark that down, and then you would tell the medication nurse, like the nurse who's responsible for giving medication that day. You would say, hey, you would mark in red in her paper, like she has a sheet. You would mark in red next to the patient's name, next to her census that she print out. Hey, this patient has a high blood pressure of 168/78, and they said okay, and they would give you the blood pressure medication to give to the patient if that patient is on a scheduled blood pressure medication. If they are not on a scheduled blood pressure medication, you would tell the charge nurse, and the charge nurse will tell the doctor, and we will figure out what to do then. So I would take it, and so if the blood pressure is high, we would give it to the medication nurse, and she would give me the medication to give, and then I would have to recheck it in 15 minutes, or I would delegate to the medical assistant to retake it in 15 minutes. So that's that with the blood pressure. And sometimes if it's really high, the charge nurse would say, okay, let's take a manual. So that's why you have to have a stethoscope, and you would take it manually to see if it goes down and see what happens next. So we would also so that's what we do. So after we have taken the vital signs are okay, we would go to the medical doctor's room / charge nurse room. Is basically the room where all the patients go in to see the doctor. So I would go to that room. That's where my treatment cart is located and my IV cart is located. So basically I would go through the book where it has all the creams / IV medications to pass out, and at that point, if I have an IV medication due, that's when I would flag it to the right, and I would prepare my IV medications. If there's IV medications due, sometimes there's no IV medications due. So I would take the patients outside. I would either call the guard and say, hey guard, do you have patient blah 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 in cell something, let's say FD1A, patient Jamie in FD1A has IV medication, can you bring her out? So the guard would would go get her and bring her out so that I can administer her IV medications, and she would stay there until, you know, her IV medication is complete. And while her IV medication is running, like let's say it's for an hour or 30 minutes or something, I would prepare the creams. I would put the names on the cups, label it, and prepare all the creams so that I can pass all that out. And then I would start off with the treatments. So the treatments are basically the treatments. It's the list of treatments that I print out, because remember in the morning we print out 2 sheets. We print out the census sheet and we print out the treatment sheet. I would use a treatment sheet and I would start giving my treatments. But however, usually one person has to stay in the doctor's room, because during the MD rounds, where the doctor sees all the patients that are due to be seen that day, one nurse has to stay in there, because if the patient is due to see the doctor and the patient has a wound, it is the job of the total care nurse, which is me, to remove the wound for the doctor to see. And then I would ask the doctor, okay doctor, the doctor would examine, and the doctor would tell me, okay, let's continue the normal saline with Zeroform and Mediapore or dry dressing. Or the doctor would say, okay, we're going to change the order, we're just going to clean with normal saline and put a dry dressing. So that's basically what it would be. So the doctor would tell me what to put on the patient, and that was my job to do. So it's very important that I stay on, but it is kind of tricky because you have to finish your other treatments too. That's why sometimes there's 2 nurses working total care, sometimes there's 1. It's really great when you have 2, because one could be in there, one could be outside. But if it's 1, you have to stay in there. But we have something called Wound Care Wednesday. So Wound Care Wednesday is when like almost all the wounds are to be seen, so you really have to stay in the doctor's room. But you know, it all cancels out. And then after we finish our treatments and we finish our MD rounds, what we do next is we empty out the urinals, we clean the patients who need to be cleaned, and then we do what we do. Every single day it's different. Somebody asked me what's the nurse to patient ratio. Every single day is different, because patients are constantly being changed, patients are being admitted, patients are being sent to general population. It's a whole bunch of things. And we also do the finger stick. I forgot. We do the finger stick, and we ask the guard to get the patient out of the cell, or we call for the patient and they stay out of the cell. And if the patient's blood sugar is low, you know, we give them their glucose tabs and we let them stay out of the cell so we can see like with an eye distance. And then, you know, we give them another glucose and we recheck, and you know, those kind of things when that happens. And then the last but not least is we document everything we do. After we finish, we document everything that we did, and that's it. And usually, you know, nurses who are very experienced, they work 6 to 2, they finish everything by 9. Sometimes I finish if I'm working by myself, I finish everything by 12. So it's really not that bad. It sounds like a lot, but it's really not that bad. But every single day it can vary. Some days we could have 2 pages of treatment, some day 1. So it really varies, and it really varies on like what kind of day you're having, whether it's a good or bad day. And also, when the TB nurse is not there, of course you have the TB patient, so you have to do all their treatments, all their vital signs, so that is kind of tough. And then you have to do the smoke test, which is basically like you put a smoke, it's like a little machine, not a machine, but it's like a device where you could put smoke inside the cell. So basically we're going to make sure it has negative pressure, like all the air is being sucked in, because all the TB cells have to have negative pressure. And also, when you're handling TB patients, we have to wear our masks, our N95s. If that's correct, please correct me. I may be saying the wrong name. And then we do sputum collection. Like, if there's patients due for sputum collection for the TB, we would just give them the cup and they would spit inside, and we could close it, and then we would put it in, give it to the laboratory. All right, guys. So that is only done on weekends, though. But guys, that is the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any questions, I know I just went straight through, just leave it down in the comments below. And I love working in the jail because it's only 8 hours, and from working 12-hour shifts, I realized I'm not a 12-hour shift person. I just rather do my 8 hours and go home. I work 6 to 2, and I come home. I work actually 5:45 to 2:15, but by the time I come home, it's like, even if I stop somewhere, I would come home at 3:30. I could work out, go to the gym, or do whatever I gotta do. And you know, I'm about to start school soon, so it's really good for me. So I personally, I love working in the jail. I know some people have their reservations. I know one person said that, you know, they don't like working in the jail because RNs get treated better. RNs get treated better anyway, everywhere, to be honest with you. But it could be different in every unit in every jail, but I don't really see that they mistreat me. I really like it. I really like the vibe. I like everybody who works there. Of course, there's little dramas and stuff like that, but where else in the world do you work in nursing where there's not? But I love my supervisor. She's really nice. I love the nurses that I work with. So guys, I really like it all in all. And you know, I would be honest. If you guys watch my previous videos, I'm always very honest about what I think about a certain facility, and to be honest with you, I really like it. So I really encourage you guys to try working in corrections. I know some people have a lot of fear around that area, but me, I personally really like it. Alright guys, so if you guys have any questions, don't forget to leave it down below, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!